Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay I'd like to talk about, and focusing particularly on Britain here, but it could be almost anywhere, the amount of illegal aliens that arrive illegally in Britain, and 3 or 4 years on, and I only went back 4 years, so this could go for longer. 3 or 4 years on, how many of them are still living on government benefits, where 100% of their income is ostensibly at least government benefits, which include, you know, free phones, free food, free housing, and free quite a lot of things. Now, there appears to be no requirement that they have to meet in order to get this free handouts. For example, they have to attend English language classes every day, and if they don't, then their benefits are cut off or something like that. There appears to be no standard they have to meet. So I don't know how they can be accountable. They've arrived illegally, they get all the free stuff, and they've got no qualifications. They've got nothing they can do. I suppose they could be labourers, but they want to live for free at the expense of the evil fascist Nazi white supremacist taxpayer. So and are entitled to do so in their cognizance. But I was surprised. I thought maybe the benefits would be cut off after a year or something like that. But 4 years on, the illegal aliens that arrived 4 years ago into the UK, and nearly all, as best I can tell, and please correct me if I'm wrong, best I can tell, are all still living on taxpayer handouts. I mean, is it possible to get a more fucked up system than this? But now local people don't have access to those sort of benefits. So again, it's this totem pole of victimhood. They don't speak English. They're all black lesbians, and so we have to cut them some slack and give them benefits that other people aren't entitled to. Now that makes a mockery of the rule of law and equality and all that. That's nor is it even an equity issue here. So ideologically, they're predetermined as victims, and thus they're handed out entitlements. So why import? Why willingly import or tolerate the importation of an entire victim class that doesn't have to meet the same standards or rules or laws or obligations that anyone else does? I mean, isn't that a recipe for self-destruction and social discord? Of course it is. So why do it? But this seems to be the thing. Now, as I mentioned in other videos, there's a lot of propaganda doing the rounds that the people who arrive illegally into Britain, or elsewhere for that matter, are escaping bombs. Bombs are falling on them. Bombs are falling on. And just if you look at the text and the way that's structured, you can see that, and if you look behind it, you can see that the Jewish activist propagandists are very much, a part of writing this particular script, at least. So anyway, these bombs that are supposed to be falling on them, and terror, they're subject to all sorts of evil privations and so on and so forth. But if you look at certainly the people going to England, the illegals arriving in Britain or the south coast of England, they're exclusively coming from France. Now, there's no bombs falling on them in France. They're not being persecuted in France. Nothing's happening to them in France. So why is this claim that they're escaping bombs being dropped on them? Let's suppose that was true in their country of origin, which, in the case of Albania and a lot of it, it's not. You could argue in some of the African places where there's this tribal civil war stuff, you could make a case for that, but they've got safe refuges to go to in terms of United Nations run refugee camps, so there's no bombs falling on them there. So that's not right either. let's suppose that the bombs falling on them, 20 years ago was an issue then. Okay, all right, let's say that. But they're passing through multiple safe refugee camps, multiple safe countries, including France and other countries, Spain and so on, where there's no bombs falling on them there. So that argument that they're escaping bombs and so on is just utter nonsense. It's an outright, outrageous propaganda lie that's being peddled by people who should know better. Now, so the ones that aren't coming from France or from refugee camps and so on, they're Albanians, a lot of Albanians coming through there, and Bulgarians, that sort of thing. So there's no bombs being dropped on them. So they're all economic migrants being trafficked by people smugglers, and so that there's absolutely no case at all for refugee status or asylum status. Maybe there's one or two among them. I mean, I say that's very unlikely, but let's just give the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it is, but it's going to be a tiny proportion of those. So not only are these people not in any danger at all, and if they were in danger, it was a long time ago. And again, they had to pass through multiple safe countries and refugee camps to get to England. Now there are a few other things that sort of surprise me a bit. When they're in France, they can sort of stay in refugee camps and all that sort of stuff, and that's all fine. The European Court of Human Rights doesn't seem to bother about it. And strangely, no one seems to be filing lawsuits, or not lawsuits that have any chance of getting up. But as soon as they arrive in England, suddenly they have their human rights just multiply exponentially. Suddenly they have masses of human rights and equally masses of lawyers that are representing them for free and insisting that they not just have basic human rights but have turbocharged human rights. Suddenly they're entitled to these incredible human rights the minute they arrive in England. But why don't those same rights apply to them in France or in Spain or somewhere else? Well, why is it only in England they get these turbocharged human rights? That seems rather odd. Seems it's like some sort of predetermined scam that's going on here. So now, why can't there be a refugee camp set up in England? They stay in the refugee camp, same as they would be staying in some camp in France or Spain or something. But no, they can't. They have to get free fucking houses. They have to get free everything, and they have to have human rights. Human rights, the absolute top of the range, top drawer human rights apply to them and uniquely to them, but only when they arrive in England. That seems rather strange, don't you think? But look, 4 years on, the majority of people that arrived, not nearly all of them, that arrived illegally 4 years ago are still existing exclusively on government benefits. I don't understand that. Why would you even entertain that possibility? So it's quite clearly a scam that's being organised through the globalist-controlled Western body politic, hushed up and covered up by the globalist-controlled media, assisted and aided and abetted by an array of NGOs and of course, the United Nations and various front groups that purport to be acting in the interests of human rights, which of course is utter nonsense. Acting for the debasement of Western nations and culture, maybe that's probably their task. But in terms of upholding human rights of illiterate third world peasants that are trying to scam a free ride, I don't see that as a human rights issue. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.